Once upon a time, there was a man who loved to play golf. He played almost every day and was always looking to improve his game. One day, he heard about a new golf course that had just opened up and decided to check it out. As he was playing, he noticed that there was a frog on the course, watching him intently. The man didn't think much of it and continued playing. But as he was about to take his next swing, the frog spoke up and said, "Ribbit." And the man was surprised but decided to listen to the frog's advice. He used his 9-iron and hit the ball perfectly. It landed on the green, just inches away from the hole. The man was amazed and turned to thank the frog, but it had already hopped away. The man continued playing, and every time he was about to take a shot, the frog would appear and give him advice. And every time, the man's game improved. He was thrilled and couldn't believe his luck. At the end of the game, the man approached the frog and said, "You're amazing. How did you know which club to use every time?" The frog replied, "Ribbit. I'm a great caddy, but a terrible liar. You're standing on my ball." Once upon a time, there was a farmer who owned an old donkey named Jack. One day, Jack accidentally fell into a deep well. The farmer tried to rescue him, but he couldn't figure out how to get the donkey out. The farmer didn't want to give up on Jack, so he decided to bury him alive in the well. He started shoveling dirt into the well, hoping that it would eventually reach the top and Jack would be able to climb out. But as the farmer was shoveling dirt, something miraculous happened. Every time a pile of dirt was thrown on Jack's back, he would shake it off and step into the new layer of dirt. Eventually, he was able to step up and out of the well. The farmer was amazed and overjoyed to see Jack alive and well. But then he realized that he had a bigger problem on his hands. He had to bury the well, and he needed Jack's help to do it. So the farmer went to his neighbor's farm and asked for help. The neighbor agreed to help, but on one condition: he would get to keep Jack once the well was buried. The farmer was in a bind and had no choice but to agree. So they started shoveling dirt into the well, and every time a pile of dirt was thrown on Jack's back, he would shake it off and step into the new layer of dirt. Finally, after hours of shoveling, the well was completely buried. The neighbor turned to the farmer and said, "I'm sorry, but I can't keep Jack. He's too valuable to me. I'll give him back to you." The farmer was relieved and grateful to have Jack back. He turned to Jack and said, "I'm sorry I had to bury you in that well, but it all worked out in the end. You're alive and well, and I have you back." Jack looked at the farmer and said, "What are you talking about? I'm not Jack. I'm the donkey that was buried alive in the well. Jack is the name of the horse that's been helping us bury it." Once upon a time, there was a man who was always looking for ways to make money. One day, he saw an ad in the newspaper that read, "Make $1,000 a week. No experience necessary. Call now." The man was intrigued and called the number. A woman answered and said, "Hello. Thank you for calling. Are you interested in making $1,000 a week?" The man replied, "Absolutely." "What do I have to do?" the woman said. "It's very simple. All you have to do is paint my porch." The man thought it sounded too good to be true, but he agreed to do it anyway. He showed up at the woman's house the next day and started painting the porch. As he was working, the woman came outside and said, "I'm going to run some errands. I'll be back in a few hours. When you're finished, just let yourself out and I'll leave the money under the doormat." The man continued painting, but after a few hours, he started to get curious. He wondered why painting a porch could pay so much money. So he decided to take a closer look at the paint can he was using. To his surprise, he saw that the paint can said, "Congratulations. You have just painted the Golden Gate Bridge. Please send this can back to us for payment." The man was shocked and disappointed. He had been tricked into painting the Golden Gate Bridge, which was a massive job that would take weeks to complete. He felt like he had been scammed. But then he had an idea. He took the paint can and wrote on it, "Congratulations. You have just painted the White House. Please send this can back to us for payment." One day, a man walked into a bar and saw a sign that read, "Free drinks for life. Just complete the challenge." The man was intrigued and asked the bartender what the challenge was. The bartender replied, "First, you have to drink this entire bottle of tequila without stopping. Then, you have to go outside and pull the sore tooth out of our mean, old Rottweiler's mouth. And finally, we have a 90-year-old woman upstairs who's never been with a man. You have to go upstairs and take care of her." The man was hesitant, but he really wanted free drinks for life. So he took the bottle of tequila and downed it in one gulp. Then, he stumbled outside to the Rottweiler, which was growling and showing its teeth. The man reached into the dog's mouth and pulled out the sore tooth. The Rottweiler whimpered and ran away. Feeling accomplished, the man went inside the bar and asked the bartender, "Okay, where's the 90-year-old woman?" The bartender replied, "She's upstairs in the second room on the left. But I have to warn you, she's blind, deaf, and has Alzheimer's." The man was taken aback but decided to go upstairs anyway. He found the room and went inside. He saw the old woman lying in bed and asked, "Do you know why I'm here?" The old woman replied, "No, but if you're here to fix the light, I already told the landlord it's broken." Once upon a time, there was a man from Europe who was visiting America for the first time. He was fascinated by the culture and the people, but he was also a bit confused by some of the things he saw. One day, the man went into a fast food restaurant and ordered a burger and fries. When he received his meal, he was surprised to see that the fries were in a separate container from the burger. In Europe, the fries were always served on the same plate as the burger. The man decided to ask the cashier why the fries were in a separate container. The cashier replied, "Well, sir, in America, we believe in freedom of choice. You can choose to eat your fries first, or you can choose to eat your burger first. It's up to you." The man was impressed by this explanation and decided to eat his fries first. But as he was eating, he noticed that the other customers were staring at him. He couldn't figure out why until he realized that he was the only one eating his fries first. Embarrassed, the man decided to switch to eating his burger first. But as he was eating, he noticed that the other customers were still staring at him. He couldn't figure out why until he realized that he was the only one eating his burger with a fork and knife. Feeling frustrated and confused, the man decided to leave the restaurant. As he was walking out, he heard a young boy say to his mother, "Mom, why is that guy eating his burger with a fork and knife?" The mother replied, "Oh honey, he's probably just a tourist from Europe. They do things a little differently over there." Once upon a time, there was an American tourist who was visiting the UK for the first time. He was excited to see all the famous landmarks and experience the culture. One day, he went to a pub and ordered a pint of beer. As he was enjoying his drink, he noticed a man at the bar who was sitting completely still. The man wasn't moving at all, and the tourist was puzzled. He decided to ask the bartender about the man. The bartender replied, "Oh, that's old Bill. He's been sitting there for years, and he's never moved." No one knows why. The tourist was intrigued and decided to ask the man himself. He walked up to old Bill and said, "Excuse me, sir, but why are you sitting here?" "Are you waiting for someone?" Old Bill replied. "No, I'm not waiting for anyone. I'm just waiting for the weather to change." The tourist was confused and asked, "What do you mean?" "The weather is fine," Old Bill replied. "Yes, but it's been like this for years. I'm just waiting for a change." The tourist was amazed by the man's dedication to waiting for the weather to change. He decided to come back to the pub every day to check on old Bill and see if the weather had changed. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. The tourist kept coming back, but the weather never changed. He started to get frustrated and asked old Bill, "Why are you still waiting?" "The weather hasn't changed in months," old Bill replied. "Oh, I'm not waiting for the weather to change anymore. I'm waiting for someone to tell me how to get off this stool." Once upon a time, there was an American tourist who was visiting Paris for the first time. He was excited to see all the famous landmarks and experience the culture. One day, he decided to take a taxi to the Eiffel Tower. As he was riding in the taxi, he noticed that the driver kept looking at him in the rearview mirror. The tourist was a bit uncomfortable, but he didn't say anything. Finally, the driver spoke up and said, "Excuse me, sir, but are you American?" The tourist replied, "Yes, I am." "How did you know?" the driver said. "Oh, it's easy to tell. You're wearing running shoes." The tourist was confused and asked, "What's wrong with wearing running shoes?" The driver replied, "Well, in France, we don't wear running shoes unless we're actually running. It's just not fashionable." The tourist felt embarrassed and decided to take off his running shoes and put them in his backpack. He didn't want to stand out as a tourist anymore. When he arrived at the Eiffel Tower, he saw a man selling souvenirs. The man was wearing a beret, a striped shirt, and a scarf. The tourist thought to himself, "Now there's a real Frenchman. I want to look like him." So he bought a beret, a striped shirt, and a scarf from the man and put them on. He felt proud and thought he blended in perfectly. But as he was walking around the Eiffel Tower, he noticed that people were staring at him. He couldn't figure out why until he overheard two French women talking to each other. One of them said, "Look at that guy. He's trying too hard to look French. It's so obvious." The tourist was disappointed and frustrated. He didn't know how to fit in with the French people. Just then, he saw a mime performing near the Eiffel Tower. He had an idea. He decided to approach the mime and ask him for advice on how to blend in with the French people. The mime didn't speak, but he took the tourist's hand and led him to a nearby cafe. At the cafe, the mime ordered 2 glasses of wine. He took out a pen and a piece of paper and wrote, "Just be yourself. That's the most French thing you can do." The tourist was relieved and grateful for the mime's advice. He realized that he didn't have to try so hard to fit in. He finished his wine and left the cafe, feeling like a true Frenchman. As he was walking away, he heard the mime start to speak. "Hey, wait a minute," he said. Once upon a time, there was a family of ducks who lived in a pond in the middle of a park. The mother duck had just laid a bunch of eggs, and she was excited to see her babies hatch. One day, all the eggs hatched, and the mother duck was overjoyed. But as she looked at her babies, she realized that one of them was a little different. This duckling had bright green feathers instead of the usual yellow. The mother duck was worried that the other ducks would make fun of her green duckling. So, she decided to take her babies to the other side of the pond, where they would be away from the other ducks. As the days went by, the green duckling started to grow. But he still had green feathers, and the other ducks started to notice. They would quack and laugh at him whenever he swam by. The green duckling was sad and didn't know what to do. He didn't fit in with the other ducks, and he felt like an outsider. One day, a group of geese flew into the pond. They saw the green duckling and didn't make fun of him. Instead, they invited him to join them on their journey south for the winter. The green duckling was hesitant at first, but he decided to join the geese. As they flew south, he realized that he didn't have to fit in with the ducks. He could be himself and still be accepted by others. When they arrived in their winter home, the green duckling had made new friends and was happy. He realized that being different wasn't a bad thing, and that he could still find his place in the world. Years went by, and the green duckling grew up to be a beautiful green goose. He never forgot his journey south with the geese and always remembered to be true to himself.